So my name is Amy Brady. A little bit about myself is I spent the first couple years of my career working in the business world. I was a business major. And then at some point I realized that that's not what I wanted to do with my life. And so I became a teacher. I looked at everything human services and fell into teaching sort of in a backwards way. And I was a classroom teacher for 11 years. And then I moved into youth development, meaning I worked with youth ages kindergarten through 12th grade, doing all the work that we do with kids outside of the traditional school day. So I worked for Colorado State University, and through that experience, I started really for the first time expanding my view of community and worked almost exclusively with inner city youth. And that was absolutely life-changing for me because I just really found my passion of knowing community and impacting my greater community. So during that time of working for Colorado State University, I also became a trainer for the other youth organizations in the city. And one of the things that was happening in education and youth development in Denver was they were looking towards this coaching model. Everyone was talking about coaching. Everybody wanted coaching. And people would say to me, well, you're a coach. And I would look at them and say, well, not really. And so it was about, 2.5 years ago, I decided to leave CSU and start my own business. And my intention at that time was really to become a trainer for youth organizations and schools. And I wanted to bring in this coaching piece, which is how I found iPEC. So I just wanted to, one, have a credential, and two, learn some skills so that when people said, you're a coach, or I say, yes, I coach, that actually meant something. It had something to back it up. So that's how I joined iPEC. And so I left my job at CSU 2.5 years ago, started my own business, and then I literally a month or two later started down the road of iPEC. So my business name is Stand Up, and I work with community serving organizations and primarily those that serve youth. So I work with nonprofits and the education sector. So my business coaching right now, I have two main models. The first one is I go into organizations and lead programs. So those programs look like lots of different things. Primarily, they're either youth serving programs, meaning I work with staff that actually on the front lines working with at-risk youth and coaching them on how to engage youth better, how to bring in youth development best practices, etc. I also go into organizations and do work around culture change and leadership. And this is where that piece of energy leadership came in for me. When I started in iPEC, I didn't even know that this energy leadership piece was part of it. And what has been really interesting and amazing for me as I've gone through the last couple of years is how much people want that, how much organizations are looking for this self-awareness piece and empowerment piece for their leaders and their organizations, and how much it can really move towards culture change. So when I first started, I was doing primarily youth development work, just working with staff of Denver Public Schools, Jefferson County Public Schools, Boys and Girls Clubs, etc., on youth work. But then I started throwing out to them this option of culture change and leadership development, and was amazed at how interested people were in that work. And so I also now go into organizations and do workshops using the core energy framework. So I've done, for example, in an entire department of Denver Public Schools, a workshop around energy leadership and core energy dynamics, and everywhere from just a one-time shot in some organizations, like a 2-hour training, all the way to a 3-month process. So that's one piece. And then I also have this piece where I have people come to me. So I don't go into the organizations, but I host a workshop and invite people to come to me. So those have primarily been either hosted by someone else, like a conference host that asks people to come and see my work, or it's been me hosting these workshops around core energy dynamics or energy leadership. So I put it out there and put it out to my network, and people sign up. So that's my second model, and that's been the most interesting model for me in many ways, because when I launched my first one, which was about 6 months after I graduated from iPEC, I, had this, all my marketing materials professionally done. I was ready to go. I thought, this is it. This is going to be a great way to bring more people into the work that I do. People know my name. And an amazing thing happened, which was I put all my materials out on all the listservs I belong to, which was probably about 3,000 people, put it out on social media, emailed it to absolutely everyone that I knew, and No one signed up. No one. And so the anxiety I felt around that, and talk about gremlins of no, that was absolutely unreal. The feeling and the anxiety. I couldn't even be present with my family during that period of time. It was absolutely crazy. And then I had an interesting thing happen, which was one person signed up, and it happened to be the head of this department at Denver Public Schools, where I had been doing a lot of youth development work, because she wanted to check it out to see about bringing it into her organization. So this was the amount of fear I had at that moment, because I couldn't at this point just cancel it. At this point, I had to fill some seats. I had to get people in that workshop, because this was such a high opportunity experience for me. So that for me was one of my biggest learning opportunities in having my own business, because there are a couple things I know are believed to be true about myself. One is I can create some amazing content. It's just something I've always done, whether I was a teacher or whether I was working in youth development or training volunteers. I can create great content. And then the other thing I know is I can deliver that content in an engaging way that's really going to have people buy in, be excited about it. But what I learned in that moment was what I was missing was that what I call the bridge between those two, which was actually having people decide they wanted to participate. And the learning for me around that was what it took to do that work. And for me, it was, one, I just had so much to learn. And then two, it was, you don't just put it out there and people just sign up. The amount of work I did to have 5 people on that first workshop was truly unbelievable. Personal phone calls, emails, emailing again and calling again. And the value of just, that personal contact via phone call. I mean, it was really, it just was such a learning experience for me, because I had it in my head that, people know me in my network, and everyone's going to just sign up. This is going to be great. So that's huge. And I think that was, and I continue to grow in that. But one thing I know is you have to do the work. There's no quick fix. There's no create the pretty flyer and put it out to 5,000 people and people sign up. It takes doing the work. So that's been a huge learning experience for me. So here I am now, about a year and a half after that first workshop, and I've led 7 or 8 of those now, 7 or 8 of those energy leadership inspired workshops. And what I have found from it is, one, it's what some of my absolute favorite work I do, but it has also then increased my work in organizations, because I'll have nonprofit leaders come and do energy leadership, and then they get so excited about it, they want to bring it into their organization. So I've had that happen several times, where I've now been able to take the work into someone's organization, which has been great. When I think about the areas of breakthrough for me, I mean, I could probably sit here and talk for hours about the areas of breakthrough I've had since I started this business. I find that being an entrepreneur, and particularly doing work like I do or like coaches do, it's so personal that it's hard. I have found it to be really hard when there's low moments, because there are low moments. There are times where it is the absolute most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life, where I just see, people being inspired and communities being inspired. And then there are moments where, I'm in the fetal position in my bed and my husband is coming and handing me a glass of wine and walking out, because I've lost it. So the area of breakthrough for me, which I would say is a continual work in progress, it's a continual breaking through for me, is being able to ride out the hard times and being able to be more gentle with myself. One of the things that I've learned about me through this whole process is I've always considered myself a confident woman. Like I can be in front of a room, I can engage people, I can do well at what I do, but I've really learned the difference between confidence and, I hate the term self-love, but I'm going to use it, but really loving and caring for myself and looking internal and being gentle with myself, because I'm not always awesome. Things don't always go well. And, sometimes I get feedback that isn't glowing. And being able to take all of that as a learning experience and just be more appreciative of myself through the process and gentle with myself and loving of myself. And it has been huge for me, a huge breakthrough for me. And like I said, I am a work in progress. I have a lot of work to still go there, but that's been important, because being an entrepreneur, being a coach, putting yourself out there in the way that we do, it's up and down. It's up and down, and learning to ride that out so that the ups and downs aren't quite as dramatic, but the downs, you still have them, but are able to work through them a little bit easier. So as a lot of us do in our creating our businesses, our coaching practices, we come up with our branding, and that's been an ongoing process for me as well. What I thought I was going to do and who I was when I started this thing 2.5 years ago compared to what I really actually am doing now are two very different things. So I've been going through this process over the past 8 or 9 months of really digging into that, and I've had some great guidance and help along the way. And one of the things that we did in that process was create kind of my mantra or my tagline, which is, when one person rises, powerful things happen. And that's really how I see the work that I do. That for me, what is most important, that is, no matter who it is I'm in front of, whether it's a group of 50 people or it's a one-on-one coaching situation with one person, that every single person feels seen and heard. And what I see is, when someone feels seen and heard, and when you can connect and inspire that one person, they then connect and inspire the people around them like a ripple. So it's that when one person rises, or when one person gets a little better at their work, or a little more self-aware, or a little more inspired in their job, or taking care of themselves a little bit more, the difference that makes in their community. Because really what I am about at the end of the day is grassroots community impact. And I truly believe that if we can, impact one person that then is on the front lines with youth, or on the front lines in difficult community situations, then powerful things happen that we will never know how that impacts the greater community. So that's what really at the end of the day lights me up. So advice that I would give to coaches or people just graduating is, one, do the work, which I'll already mentioned, that idea of just doing the work, that it doesn't happen overnight, that and the work is going to be different for all of us, what that looks like. That would be one important piece. And another important piece of advice I would give is ask for feedback. That's, as I shared, that's a growth opportunity for me that I continue to have. But one thing I have always done, whether I was a teacher, working in youth development, or what I'm doing now, is I ask for feedback. Because it is the absolute best way to grow. So whether it's one-on-one coaching or in a group situation, finding out what people think. I recently did my own 360 feedback process, not through iPEC, but through a different organization, and it was really impactful for me. And of course, I'm the person that, the weaknesses part of the things that I focus on, I'm still growing there. But if I look at the list of weaknesses, there's so many things that I can take from that to grow myself personally, to grow my organization, to grow what I do. So it's so incredibly valuable, even though I hyperventilate a little bit sometimes when I get that feedback, so valuable. But then also just on lines with, just caring for myself, taking the moments to let in the positive stuff too, I think is important, particularly if you work alone a lot. Being able to get that feedback and take it in is important. So feedback, ask for it, take it, and look at it as a learning opportunity.